2021.
This is a public service announcement. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has issued executive orders limiting the size of public gatherings. The City Council will meet today with all voting members of the City Council remotely by telephonic conferencing system. Some employees will be available to participate in the same manner.
First, we'll have the approval of minutes, report of correspondence by city clerk, public hearings, ordinances on second reading. The first one is an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick. 2, an ordinance to amend and supplement or revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick. We have no ordinances on first reading for discussion. Then we have resolutions 1 through 29. 1, approve agenda amendments. 2, approve payroll. 3, authorize refund for redeemed tax sale certificates. 4, authorize application and execution of grant agreement. 5, approve award of contract. 6, approve amendment of resolution R-022104. 7, authorize tax collector to transfer several tax and utility overpayments. 8, authorization for the New Brunswick Senior Citizen Resource Center to sign agreements with the Parker Foundation. 9, approve resolution to refer a development plan for a particular parcel to the planning board for review. 10, approve resolution to refer an amendment of the redevelopment plan for the Stamford Street redevelopment area to the planning board for review. 11, approve resolution to refer a redevelopment plan for a particular parcel to the planning board for review. 12, approve resolution to refer an amendment of the land development ordinance to the planning board for review. 13, approve resolution to refer the following parcel to the planning board for review and report to determine whether areas should be designated area in need of redevelopment. 14, a resolution to refer an amendment of the redevelopment plan for the Jersey Handy redevelopment area to the planning board for review. 15, approve amendment of resolution R-012118. 16, approve award of contract. 17, approve amendment of resolution R-012144. 18, authorize lease of copy machine for the Division of Parks and Shade Tree. 19, approve emergency temporary appropriations for 2021. 20, approve award of contract. 21, approve amendment of resolution R-122055. 22, approve amendment of resolution R-112047. 23, approve amendment of resolution R-022077. 24, approve resolution authorizing acceptance and execution of grant agreement. 25, advise and consent to Cablevision Citizens Advisory Committee reappointments and appointment. 25, approve no parking anytime on Somerset Street from Hardenburg to Division. 27, advise and consent to rent control board appointments. 28, approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance. 29, approve award of contract. Then we have items for discussion by council, an OEM update. The next meeting is March 3rd, 2021 at 5:30 p.m., beginning with the agenda review session. The meeting will be called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Egan.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Here.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Here. Open Public Meeting Act statement. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings of the Municipal Council of the City of New Brunswick, has been filed with the city clerk, has been placed on the appropriate bulletin board and posted in the back vestibule of City Hall, visible to the public through the windows in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune. Additionally, a 48-hour notice of the time, place, and manner of conducting this meeting has been made by the city clerk on February 15th, 2021, as is required by law.
The City Council intends to meet on a regular schedule and will meet the guidelines of the Open Public Meetings Act by utilizing a telephonic conferencing system through which the public may participate. The public is encouraged to call into the conference system through the phone numbers and access codes transmitted in the 48-hour notice. During the portions of the meeting that are not open for public comment, all callers from the public will be muted. During the public comment period, those who have interest in addressing the council will first be organized by last name, then called upon to speak one time and for no longer than 5 minutes during each public comment portion of the meeting. A timer will chime at the completion of a 5-minute period, and the speaker will be notified that their time has expired. Public needing assistance accessing the call-in number should call City Hall at 732-745-5007.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence to reflect and honor our military personnel and law enforcement officers who dedicate their lives to protect our freedom, safety, and democracy. May God guide them safely in their duties. Thank you.
Motion to accept the minutes of December 30. Second.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Egan,
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar,
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Madam Clerk, has all correspondence been directed to the appropriate departments?
Yes, Madam President. The correspondences received by the City Clerk's office has been forwarded to the appropriate departments for further action.
Thank you.
You're
We have no public hearings. Now we have ordinances for discussion on second reading. The first one is an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 16, Land Development Code, Chapter 16.24, Site Plan Review, Section 16.24.260 for application fees. And at this time, we're preparing to open the public hearing for this ordinance only for up to 5 minutes per person, one time. Madam Clerk, can you please prepare a list?
Yes, Council President. If any members of the public wish to speak on this ordinance, please state your name when the appropriate letter of the alphabet is called.
Unmuted.
B, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L.
Charlie Cradaville.
Okay, Mr. Cradaville. M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T.
Linda Stork, S-T-O-R-K.
Okay, Ms. Stewart. U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, Council President, the first person, do we have any other members who would like to address the council on this ordinance? This is the last call, A through Z, if you wish to speak on this ordinance. Okay, Council President, the first person on the list.
Muted.
Yes, good evening, members of the council. Charles Cradaville. I live on in New Brunswick on Saddam Street. Can you hear me? Hello, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay, well, I can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me, but I did want to ask about this ordinance and what motivated it. What is being changed here specifically with these two fees? If you're talking, I cannot hear you. Hello? Is the city council there? So for all those listening, I'm Charlie Cradaville. I'm the editor of New Brunswick Today. For those of you listening live, we are broadcasting this meeting on our Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch channels. This is an important meeting. It's the first meeting since all the snowstorms and, of course, this awful situation with Code Blue that we exposed. And hoping to get some answers to that later tonight, but it appears that the council and the staff part of the call has dropped, and it's just me talking. Not sure if they can hear me or not, but for those of you who are listening, hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning
Unmuted.
This is a test. Stand by. Council President, thank you for your patience.
Muted.
Have the employee line and the public lines reconnected. I will now turn it over to the clerk and yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Council President, the first person on the list is Mr. Charlie Cradaville.
Thank you. Mr. Cradaville, once again, could you please just state your name, spell your last name for the record?
Yes,
Mr.
Council
Cradaville?
President Charlie Cradaville here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So I'm a resident of New Brunswick, editor of New Brunswick Today, and I just wanted to ask, what is being changed by this ordinance? What's the motivation for it? I see two different fees that have to do with zoning applications and site plan reviews. Can you tell me whose idea this was and what purpose it serves?
This puts us in line with what other surrounding areas are doing, and what it allows is for the application fees for an initial application to be credited towards a major and minor site plan fees if it is done within a certain period of time.
Okay, and this already went through the planning board?
I'm, Mr. Dominguez, what was the process for this?
Yeah, this was reviewed by the planning board at, I think our regular October meeting, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all my questions on this ordinance then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, the last person on the list is Ms. Linda Stork.
Ms. Stork, please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Unmuted.
Linda Stork, S-T-O-R-K. My question,
Muted.
thank you.
Thank you. Public
Move the
comment
ordinance.
is now closed.
Sorry. Move the
That's
ordinance.
okay.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. The second is an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 10.12.170, Schedule 19, a regulation closing streets where schools are located, delete Board of Education offices, former St. Peter's, Section 10.16.020, Schedule 24, no parking at any time, delete portion of Somerset Street, Section 10.16.030, Schedule 27, no parking certain hours school zone, delete Division Street and Hardenberg Street. We are now preparing to open the public hearing on this ordinance only, one time for 5 minutes. Will the clerk please?
Unmuted.
Yes, Council President. If any members of the public wish to speak on this ordinance, please state your name when the appropriate letter of the alphabet is called. A through Z, E through H, I through L.
Charlie Cradaville?
Okay, Mr. Cradaville. M through P. Q through T. U through C. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the council on this ordinance, A through Z? Okay, we'll ask more time, A through Z. The list is now closed. Madam President, the first
Muted.
Person on the list is Mr. Charlie Cradaville.
Mr. Cradaville, the floor is yours.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so of course, I understand the reason that you're doing this is probably because the Board of Education gave away the Lincoln Annex School to private developer to expand the hospital, as we've discussed. You know my feelings about that, but I wanted to ask what this ordinance will do in terms of the parking on those two blocks. I see Hardenberg Street and Division Street named here. Can you tell me how the current situation there might change? Obviously, it'll be years before anything is actually completed there, and I would imagine you're probably not going to allow parking, you know, on the right up against the hospital building should it actually get built. But what is going to happen in the years in between? Is it going to be legal to park on these streets or not?
Well, I'm not sure of what's going to happen in the future, but Mr. Valenti, do you have any insight as to Mr. Cradaville's question?
Specific to proposed logistic plans for the cancer center construction phasing, if you would. Parking is going to be impacted on that side of the street. So essentially, a lot of these school zones will be taken up temporarily for the duration of the project until they can retreat back to the new building lines. There'll be no parking on that edge. That's correct. But there's no other changes to any other parking on the street. It's still a resident area. There's still alternate side as it relates to street cleaning. So nothing else changes as it relates to that.
Thank you. Mr. Cradaville, do you have any other questions? Mr. Cradaville?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So the one side of each street is what I'm hearing is going to be taken out of the parking possibilities for residents who have the permit. Is that correct?
I think what he said was nothing is being affected for people with residential parking permits right now because these are the areas that were deemed for school zones. So there was no parking there to begin with.
Right. But I did
there was
also hear him
availability
say
for parking on the weekend.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing Mr. Valenti. What did he say?
I said the parking limitations along the frontage of the St. Peter's property, what we commonly know as the St. Peter's property, a portion of Hardenberg along Somerset and also a portion of Division, had always had parking limitations. There was some availability on weekends. School days, there was no parking there. In fact, one of the other ordinances allowed the school to close the street so they can use it as a playground, believe it or not. But in any event, so really the essence of this is to clean it all up. But to answer Mr. Cradaville's question, which is not necessarily related to the resolution, there's no other impact changes on who can park there, but there's going to be a limited availability on one edge of Division and another edge of Hardenberg.
Okay. Well, I would, respond by just stating my opinion that, the city has not done a good job of keeping the ordinances to match the reality. And this is a perfect example, is that the city police department used the Nixle system on May 29th, 2020 to issue an alert saying that there's a parking restriction on portion of Hardenberg Street in effect beginning Sunday at 6 p.m. And this was, of course, because Robert Wood had already taken over part of the Lincoln Annex property to do pre-procedure COVID testing. And so this Nixle alert, not a law, not an ordinance, has been, advertised via Nixle to the populace in New Brunswick, and this restriction was never lifted. There was no subsequent message that said the restriction is lifted. So I just kind of feel like things are being done very sloppy, and especially in situations when we have a lot of snow or construction, like is planned for this block, especially when Rutgers is in session and with the hospital humming along, the city really does let down the residents in terms of making sure that they have as many places to park as possible. And so, my concern here is that there's no forward-looking plan for what the parking is going to look like during construction, should construction commence, nor is there a plan for what's going to happen once construction is complete. And I think that would belong in this ordinance rather than just, lifting the school zone regulation that, was not really in play for the past 11 months because school has not been in session there. I think
Your
the
time has
ordinance needs
expired,
work, and I
Mr.
hope
Cradaville.
the council will do the work. Thank you.
The public comment is now closed on this ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Egan,
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar,
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. We have no ordinances on first reading. Now we have resolutions 1 through 29. At this time, we're preparing to open the meeting to public comment on the resolutions only, one time for 5 minutes per person. Madam Clerk, will you please prepare a list?
Yes, Council President.
Unmuted.
Does the public wish to speak on the resolutions only? Please state your name when the appropriate letter of the alphabet is called. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L.
Charlie Cradaville.
Okay. M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T.
Linda Stork.
Okay, Ms. Stork. U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Is there anyone A through Z who wishes to address the council? This is the last call, A through Z, if you wish to speak on the resolution. The list is now closed. Madam,
Muted.
Kerber?
okay, Ms. Kerber. Madam President, the first person
Thank
on
you.
the list is Mr. Charlie Cradaville.
Mr. Cradaville, the floor is now
Yes, good
yours.
evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to ask about all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these resolutions referring amendments referring certain properties for a redevelopment plan. One of them, I believe, is amending a redevelopment plan that's already in place. So perhaps Mr. Dominguez would be the best person if you aren't already aware of what properties these are, why they're being referred to the board, and I guess what the larger plan is going to be for them.
Do you want to start with number 9 then, Mr. Cradaville, and have Mr. Dominguez answer your questions on that?
Yeah, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14.
Okay. Mr. Dominguez, are you available for comment on these resolutions?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was looking for my microphone. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Can you hear me, Council President?
Yes, Dan.
Okay, all right, thank you. So going in order, first is number 9, a scattered site redevelopment plan, looking at some vacant parcels in the city and some non-conforming uses in certain zones that are creating sort of negative spillover effects, negatively impacting the residential areas in which they exist, or in one case in a commercial area in which it's kind of a non-conforming use that's creating negative impact, as well as redeveloping a couple of vacant parcels in town. So hopefully this would create appropriate regulatory framework for those parcels to be brought up to highest and best use. moving forward, number 10, resolution for Sanford Remsen. Sanford Remsen redevelopment area is a long-term redevelopment plan. It's been on the books, I think, since the 90s. Certain portions of the redevelopment area have not been redeveloped to this point, and in some cases has the redevelopment plan standards are more stringent than the underlying zoning standards. As such, we are looking to revisit the standards to ensure redevelopment of those portions of the plan. Next up is the number 11. This is looking in to create a plan for certain parcels on Howe Lane that have had certain negative effects over there and are in suboptimal shape, and looking at opportunities for redeveloping them for better uses that fit the area. Skipping ahead to number 13, this is the 50 Easton. It's the site next to Taqueria. There's some building foundations there. I believe the building burned down several years ago. There have been approvals for projects on the site, but nothing has ever been developed there. This is to see if there is a good reason to move it forward as a area in need of redevelopment, and see if we can move it along in the process. And then finally, the Jersey Handy redevelopment area. It's a redevelopment area that's been also on the books for several years. And there's a portion of the redevelopment area that is sandwiched between a redevelopment area that the council adopted last year or the year before, and the site of the new school. And it is currently zoned light industrial in the redevelopment plan, and that's probably not an ideal fit between the new hopeful residences and the school. And so we're going to be looking at modifying that to be a better fit for the area. So that's kind of the general rundown of the 5 referrals or redevelopment related resolutions on the agenda tonight.
Okay, and
Thank you.
Mr. Dominguez, have you or the council had discussions with developers for any of these sites to see, are there any of the property owners or developers, for instance, that have approached the city about this, these 5 areas?
Yes, for 2 of them.
Your time has expired,
Which
Mr.
2?
Prattville.
followed by the pound or hash sign. To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN.
They don't own the copier, right? I'm just wondering if, it wouldn't seem to be a department that would need really super heavy duty. Maybe wouldn't it be cheaper to buy a copier and just get a service plan for it?
Well, I think they probably.
You know,
looked
almost
into that already, but-
$9,000 and then they still don't have a copier. That's a lot.
Muted.
Mr. Valenti, do you have a response to her comment?
This copier is pretty standard amongst departments in the city. It's what I think a moderately priced copier. There are pros and cons as it relates to owning equipment, and I will defer that to the attorney or to the CFO as it relates to that. But this is pretty much a standard lease. Most departments do something very similar to this, and I'm sure Ms. James can attest to that.
Thank you. Ms. Dork, your time is up. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else on the list?
Yes, Council President. The last person on the list is Ms. Marge Kerber.
Welcome to Web. Your entry, 9, is not valid or the meeting has not started yet. Re-enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound. Your entry, 9, is not valid or the meeting has not started yet. Re-enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound. Enter your attendee ID number followed by pound.
Feel free to give us a call anytime, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and we'll be more than happy to assist you.
You're muted. You can press star
Okay,
6
I will do that.
anytime to unmute yourself.
I know about the dial ride because I've used it,
Okay.
but I'm not really familiar with the resource center, but I will do that. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you, Ms.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Thank you, Ms. Kerber. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else on the list?
No, Madam President.
Move the resolutions. Second.
Councilmember Anderson. Councilmember Anderson. Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. The resolutions are adopted. And now we'll have items for discussion by council. And first, I would just like to start with a few comments myself. One, an update on the double shooting on Delafield Street. There has been one arrest that was made, so this is positive progress, but it's still an active, ongoing investigation. And then next, with the impending storm, I want everybody to try to utilize the free off-street parking that is in the designated parking decks throughout the city. They're listed on the website of the NBPA, and they opened from 6 p.m. tonight through 8 a.m. Friday morning. Now, this provides a safe place for your vehicle and allows workers of the city to expedite snow removal more efficiently. Garbage collection is on schedule, even with the storm. And also, try to utilize the Reported app to ensure information gets to the proper department in a timely manner. Social media is not an effective way to address concerns. And then, once again, I want to thank our city workers, police, and firemen who worked extremely hard during the last storm, continue to navigate through areas of concern now and as they prepare for the storm ahead. Then several people suggested that question their work and effort, and I believe that those complaints are baseless, and I continue to support the work that they do. Also, recycling is back on a normal schedule, but you can still drop off items at 12 Industrial Drive on Saturdays from 7:30 to 11:30. And then one more piece of business I have is that small businesses can apply now for a 65% discount on PPE products through the NJEDA. And also there will be additional grant applications will be accepted beginning February 22nd at 9 a.m. Finally, I want to ask Mr. Jones if he could please provide the council with particulars of the Code Blue program, and as much as they relate to the pause on the warming center from last week, if you wouldn't mind doing that for us. Mr. Jones?
Testing, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? All right, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so the City of New Brunswick hosted a Code Blue on 210, on 211, the morning of 211. Upon completion of the Code Blue, we received some calls and some messages that prompted a walkthrough and a site visit. We went to conduct the site visit around 3:30 p.m. and there were significant problems throughout the night. Apparently, there were things such as substance abuse, tobacco, food and alcohol, garbage everywhere, clogged bathroom facilities, which required some repair and deep cleaning. There were broken cots, urine in the hallways. There were blood on the floors, and there was some theft. And it required us to pause the Code Blue program for, the initial conversation was to pause it for the evening. But after taking a deeper assessment and looking at some other things, we paused it. The decision was made to pause the program for the week to get everything back in order in terms of repairs, in terms of cleaning, in terms of identifying some of the particular challenges that happened at night, having conversation with the volunteers on site that night. Immediately after the walkthrough and the decision that was made, faith leaders, social service partners, city council, administration, county personnel, state personnel, 211 were all notified to let them know that we were pausing the program for a week at the most, with the hopes of giving all of these partners the time to prepare and offer services to those in need. That message went out on Tuesday around, I think, 4 o'clock. Upon completion of all the work that we had to do, we were able to open Code Blue Saturday night for Saturday's Code Blue. We just added a police officer. We tweaked some of the procedures. We would like to believe that our procedures have worked for the 6, 7, 8 years that I've been involved with Code Blue. This has been the only one night that something like this has ever happened. So we, did our due diligence, made sure that we got everything back in order. We opened, we ran 2 Code Blues since, and we have Code Blue tonight. And that's my update. I'll stand by for any questions.
Mr. Jones, Councilman Anderson, you indicated that the problem occurred on Thursday, the 11th, probably, and you went there on the 12th to cite it, check it all out, and to pause it for a week.
Say it again?
You went down on the 12th to check it all out from what you heard. Is that right?
I'm sorry, that those numbers are absolutely not correct. So the incident happened the 8th into the 9th. The 9th is when we did the check. So I shut it down on the 9th at 3:45, 4 o'clock, and then we opened back up on the 13th.
Okay, so it was closed the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Are you also able to identify anyone who basically messed up the place?
So it wasn't an isolated incident. It wasn't like one person that, really did a number on it. It was just an interesting night at Cold Blue, and I think everybody was on the same page. So it wasn't a situation where we, picked out one particular person and that person was removed from Cold Blue. This was just a night that oversight of the one volunteer was, not enough. The priority for Cold Blue right now is the door. So we only have one volunteer that night because due to the snowstorms and the constant Cold Blues, the volunteer participation has been lacking. So we had one volunteer at the door to do the COVID checks, water temperature checks, and the face mask check. And the individuals that are staying with us for the night are staying upstairs. So upon his 1 a.m. Session, he identified a number of challenges that were happening, I guess, throughout the night.
And it was able to be opened up Saturday night, the 13th?
Say it again?
It was able to open up on Saturday, the 13th?
Correct.
And you said it was open one other day, including tonight. So that was the 13th and 17th. Was it the 14th, 15th, or 16th?
It was open last night. And we opened on the 13th, and we're open tonight.
Okay. So the modifications that have been made then is to have the someone at the door now and a police, you said?
No, so the modifications are, one, there's no food or drink allowed in, and that's the probably the only. That's one of the biggest modifications. The other one is we have an officer on site now. And the officer for the past 2 nights has been a huge plus. We've already noticed the difference in the guests that come. Some folks come for the right reasons and really need the Cold Blue space. Other folks come there to, do some less than positive things at Cold Blue. So with the officer on the site now, it helps tremendously.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Do any other council members have any questions for Mr. Jones?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to make a statement. It just so happened that last Monday I was out doing outreach with the homeless with Captain Michael Bobadilla, who has the homeless ministry for many years. And I went downtown to encourage the homeless to utilize Unity Square and the Cold Blue program and the 211. Some of them were apprehensive and did not accept the invitation. Nonetheless, we gave blankets and gave them the information of resources available. Upon almost leaving, I said Unity Square was one of my last stops. I was there on Monday night. That night, Terry, the volunteer, he was excellent. He was very pleasant. There were 12 guests at Unity Square. I had the pleasure to talk to them. They were given new coats, new boots, new gloves, and arm warmers and socks that night. They were very appreciative, some of them that I spoke to, appreciative of having a place that they could warm, at least sleep warm. I left at almost 10:30 at night, and up to that point, the place and the conduct of the guests were okay. I didn't observe any challenges. Again, I was there until 10:30 at night. After that, I don't know what happened. Until now that I hear Mr. Jones giving the explanation. Even though on Tuesday when I received some calls and I heard there was I finally find out that there was no code blue. Again, Captain Michael Bobadilla, he immediately mobilized our community, Sudan Street Reformed Church, myself, some business owners, and Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, the Community Health Promotion Program. And we went out and between Tuesday and Wednesday, giving out gloves, blankets in all the areas of the city, and we placed up to, I believe it was 9 homeless in motels for that week, including 2 females. One of them who was pregnant. We were able to at it in a motel. So I just wanted to, and the reason I'm saying all of this is because in my opinion, personally, notwithstanding what happened, I didn't see anything. If it happened afterwards, I could understand there were some challenges there. In my opinion, having paused the program it was incorrect, unacceptable. The city of New Brunswick, we have a lot of stakeholders, people that are willing to help. We have been doing that in the past, and I'm pretty sure and I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but if there was a little bit more communication or have a plan B in place for crisis situations or emergencies, maybe the situation would have been handled better without having to pause the program. We can come together. We have done it in the past. We could have done this a little bit better. Again, we need to do better, and we must do better for the homeless population of the city, whether they are from our city or not. We need to do better, and we must do better for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments from Mr. Jones, particularly relating to the Code Blue issue? Okay, now I just want to add, thank you, Mr. Jones. Will you still be available during the public comment portion?
I know where I would rather be.
Thank you, sir. And now I want to ask, do any members of the council have any general comments that they'd like to make?
No more, thank you.
Yes. Hello?
Yes. Yes, Councilman.
I remember last time I talked about February being Black History Month. Also, the last day of this month is probably a day, I wasn't even aware of it until recently. It's Rare Diseases Day. And, sometimes we gloss over that, Rare Disease Day awareness. We'll gloss over it and not realize what the rare diseases and what effects it has on people. And I'll tell you the truth, I never really had that until I met someone recently, and, she has a daughter. And, at first, for years, they thought first she was autistic, and then they really didn't know what it was. They knew she was nonverbal, and she hadn't really been properly diagnosed. So she went undiagnosed for years because doctors and everybody didn't know how to deal with it. Finally, she was dealt with a rare disease. And, it's easy to gloss over these people where she's nonverbal. You would think that she's very limited, but as I got to know her, she's like the sweetest girl, and she's become like a hero of mine because, just seeing the things that she goes through every day and the things that her mother goes through every day, and they're persevering, and she's actually doing well in school, with this whole COVID, having to adjust. Imagine that a teacher trying to teach a person with a rare disease online, and she's been thriving through this time. So I just wanted to just highlight some of the people that are dealing with that. Rare disease, they lump it into one big thing, and, it's hard to really get a diagnosis because that wouldn't be called a rare disease. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fleming. And now I'm going to ask Director Walls if we can have the OEM COVID update.
Good evening, good evening. Let's start with the weather. We have another winter storm on the way. As many of you know, it will impact the city tomorrow and Friday. Current forecast is for snow initially, with the change over to sleet mix overnight into Friday morning. Looking at a total accumulation of between 4 to 8 inches. If possible, we're asking everyone to please stay off the roads so Public Works can do their job efficiently. Over to COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccination availability is still limited, but it is improving. Vaccination can now be done at select local pharmacies in addition to county health services locations. All vaccination locations are by appointment only. Local vaccination locations include the Eldridge Hotel and the Rite Aid Pharmacy on George Street. For a complete list of the sites in Middlesex County, please visit our city website at cityofnewbrunswick.org. For a statewide list, please visit the state website at covid19.newjersey.gov and search vaccines. Free testing will continue downtown on George Street Monday, February 22nd, 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. You can register on our city website by visiting the calendar and clicking on the 22nd. Free COVID-19 testing will resume at Unity Square Community Center on Remsen Avenue next Tuesday, February 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There is no appointment necessary for this location. COVID-19 testing through Middlesex County Office of Health Services is ongoing, but no new dates are currently posted. For date and times, please visit the Middlesex County website, middlesexcounty.newjersey.gov/COVID-19 testing, or call the number at 732-745-3100 to make an appointment. The city will continue to share updated information about COVID-19 on our website and social media. The COVID-19 report podcast on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. They can be found on the city website at cityofnewbrunswick.org. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you, Director Rawls. We'll now move into the public comment portion of the meeting. At this time, we're preparing to open the meeting.
You are now allowed to unmute yourself anytime by pressing *6.
Will you please prepare a list?
Yes, Council President. If any member of the public wishes to address the council, please state your name when the appropriate letter of the alphabet is called. A through Z, E through H, I through L.
Marge Kerber.
Okay.
Got us both?
You got us
Yes.
both?
Q through T. UV. WXY. Are there any other members of the public, A through Z, who would like to address the council? This will be the last call, A through Z. The list is now closed. Madam President, the first person on the list is Ms. Marge Kerber.
Excuse me, can you not hear me? Excuse me.
I have you, Ms. Stork. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kerber, can you please just spell your name, your last name for the record? Ms. Kerber, are you there?
Can you hear me? I'm
Margaret
sorry.
Kerber? Yes, now we can. That's okay.
Okay, yeah, I accidentally muted myself. Okay, Marge Kerber, KERBER, 2 Comstock Street. My first thing is I want to say that I think Public Works has done a great job with the snow. Okay, I have a dog and I have to walk on sidewalks during the snowstorm and also on the streets. And I went down, I live by Recreation Park, and I went down there and they had cleared the park and it was in great shape. So I want to thank them for doing a great job. Also, 148 Jones, which is a bank-owned building, they came out and shoveled the sidewalk. So I want to thank them for that also. But now here comes the real reason why I need to speak, is 2 Baldwin Street here in New Brunswick, okay? They have not removed any snow for any other snowstorms. And there's a large building. It's 6 apartments. Okay, it's on the corner of Baldwin and Nickel, and he doesn't shovel any of the sites, which is like half a block. We're talking half a block on Nickel Avenue, which is not shoveled, okay? I have talked to inspections, and they won't tell me if he's gotten any violations or not, if they've gone out and given them any violations. And that's why I'm calling, because I think I have a right to know if he's been getting violations, because this is a really bad situation over there. And especially with the amount of snow that we're getting, and we're getting another storm tomorrow. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I can't find out if he's gotten any violations or not. They tell me, oh yeah, they've gone out, but I don't know what they've done. So I don't even know if this guy is getting any violations or fines or anything. So that's why I'm on the call tonight.
Okay. Mr. Shammy, is that something that she can get through an Oprah request?
She certainly can get that through an Oprah request. I don't know the answer to the question. I don't know if anyone else does. Once a summons is filed with the court, it would become public information if such a summons was actually issued.
Okay, because they told me a couple of times that I've talked. That I've talked to inspections, they told me that if they didn't take care of it, they would get another violation, then they'd have to go to court. But I don't know if anything's being done or not. So I will file an Oprah. Thank you very much.
Mr. Drulis wanted to address your issue as well. Mr. Drulis?
Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Kerber, thank you for letting us know about Baldwin Street. And I'm really glad that you were able to report that the Public Works did a great job out there. They worked real hard during the storm, and I appreciate you recognizing
I
that.
know. I know, and I compliment them every time I see them.
In this last storm, we had a citywide inspection review of the properties. Keith Jones, the department head, you heard him speak earlier on other matters. So we'll make sure to take note of your request on this property as the storm comes in. We want to make sure that all of our right-of-ways are clear for the safety, public safety. So I've made a note of it. It's really, you know, some people don't clear their sidewalks, and their sidewalk maybe is 10 feet, you know, or 12 feet or whatever in front of their house. It's not a big deal. But this guy we're talking a half a block. The only other house between him and Hale Street and Nickel is the Quaker house. Okay, that's it. And he hasn't done it. He didn't do it last year, and he hasn't done it this year. And you know, I think it's absolutely terrible, because I have to walk the dog on Nickel Avenue. But anyway. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to file an Oprah
Thank you,
to
Ms.
see if
Carver.
he's gotten anything. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the list is Mr. Cradaville.
Yes, Council President.
Mr. Cradaville?
Yes, hello. I had to press *6 to unmute myself. It's Charlie Cradaville here. I'm the editor of New Brunswick Today, resident of the 2nd Ward in New Brunswick. Can anybody tell me, has the mayor given a state of the city address this year? Does he have any plans to make remarks about the state of the city?
Mr. Barron, do you have an answer to that question?
Madam President, he has not delivered a State of the City address, and I'm not aware of any plans to do so at this point.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, so the mayor of more than 30 years does not attend council meetings, is not going to update us on the state of the city in the middle of not one but two emergencies. He's nowhere to be found, and I think that means we need a new mayor. Is Mr. Egan going to resign his city council position if he secures an appointment to the Rutgers Board of Governors?
Mr. Stammy, is there a conflict of interest between the two positions?
Well, I would have to look into that. I'm not exactly certain what Mr. Cradaville speaks of. Maybe I'm a little behind the times with recent current events, but I certainly would have to look into that, and I'm sure if some of that is true, I'm sure Mr. Egan has looked into that as well. But I don't want to speak for him. Certainly I could look into it if that were a possibility of an occurrence.
The answer is no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Councilman Egan.
I'm concerned about the police department not being transparent, as I've pointed out. They can't even tell us how many people were shot last year. We have 0 body-worn cameras, and now a law has been passed that's going to require them. So we're way behind our neighbors on that one. And our internal affairs is a total joke where people investigate their friends and let them off the hook, like happened with Trigg. And I think that we need to do better. I have copied you on some of my emails to Deputy Director Miller, but there's plenty that you haven't seen where he's not being responsive, not answering questions for days or weeks at a time. And, you know, the people deserve better. I want to thank Councilwoman Escobar for having the courage to call out what truly was unacceptable, the closure of the only overnight warming center in the city of New Brunswick on a night when it was 10 degrees and another night when it was 17 degrees last week. I did warn this council about elevating Keith Jones to an even higher position of power. He seems to have mismanaged this program. He turned down a $25,000 grant that would have helped to provide more resources and not leave the entire thing up to one volunteer overnight so that the place would get trashed. And apparently, Mr. Jones wouldn't figure it out until 3:30 p.m. the following day. And then instead of going public with this information and putting the word out to the general public, he quietly closed down the city's only warming center, serving the homeless population, leaving them with no place to go on a 10-degree night. That is truly unacceptable. So I thank you, Councilwoman, for calling that out. You've seen some of my emails. Keith did not even have the courage to respond to my questions as this situation was unfolding. And you'll note in the December 9th email, he had said, quote, "We have an alternate site prepared and ready if needed." So perhaps when I'm done with my remarks, Keith can tell me what that alternate site is and why, if it was prepared and ready if needed, it was not used on the 10-degree night when he shut down the program. I'm also concerned about the Cahill administration's commitment to our taxpayers and our city workers. Can Mr. Valenti tell me, has anyone asked the Improvement Authority for a refund for the multiple missed recycling pickups?
Mr. Valenti, do you have any comments?
Well, these are certainly weather-related functions, as I just discussed in the last meeting, and it was statewide. It just didn't occur in New Brunswick. It wasn't specific to New Brunswick's vendor or contractor, who's the same as the county contractor. This is a statewide issue. Every municipality was affected. Every municipality got canceled in those times. So it's just a perfect storm of events that that you don't plan for this extreme. It's simple as that.
Council President,
How
may
many
I add to that?
sanitation workers were hit by vehicles? How many sanitation workers were hit by garbage trucks or vehicles this month?
I think your time has expired, Mr. Cradaville.
Council President, if I may add to Mr. Valenti's comments,
Yes, Mr. Drolis.
and I just happened to get off this phone call before the council meeting, so I didn't get a chance to connect with Mr. Valenti. We are reviewing what was not fulfilled within the contract by the third-party vendor, and we're tracking it. As Mr. Valenti said, right now, this is a statewide problem, but as the city, we're tracking where we think the shortfalls were, and we will take it up with the vendor as we can, based on the terms of the contract.
Madam
Thank
President?
you, Mr. Drolis. Yes. Councilman Anderson?
The $25,000 grant that we had turned down, it was my understanding that there were other factors that went along with that had to be, and that's the reason that it was turned down. Is that right, Councilwoman or Mr. Jones?
Well, from what I understand, and I don't have complete knowledge of it, but there are stipulations that come with grants, and in order to do all of the requirements, it wasn't enough money to accept it. But is that correct, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll address a few things. So the grant itself was $25,000, which was a nice gesture, but at the end of the day, it was not feasible for the city of New Brunswick to operate a cold blue program at 32 degrees, which would triple our total in terms of nights we have to run the program. It would also require us to hire staff, and during the pandemic, it would also increase all of our necessary finances or needs that we would have to increase in order to keep the building clean, repair cots, provide hygiene kits, you name it. So the number was not enough. And the decision was made to politely decline so we can keep our number at 25. The city has been a true champion of cold blue, and we have demonstrated that to the county, so much so that we now have a $90,000 agreement in place, which is almost four times the amount than the $25,000 that most folks wanted us to take and have been beating us up for not taking. So now we get $90,000, hopefully very, very soon, over several years. So there's $90,000 a year for several years that will allow us to do some real things with cold blue. In terms of the cold blue pause, it was not closed quietly. 211 was notified, houses of worship were notified, social services were notified, state was notified, city officials were notified, with the goal of them having enough time and having enough lead time to put programs in place to allow people to go. The issue is that our rotating shelter for the city of New Brunswick, which is ran by other partners, has been closed due to COVID. There are no other services that would normally open on a non-pandemic winter have all closed their doors. So at the end of the day, the city of New Brunswick is the only organization or the only resource that has tripled their work, adding dignity centers, adding mobile shower services, adding food services. So nobody has reduced services. If anything, the city of New Brunswick has stepped up during this pandemic. So the idea that we somehow did it quietly, or somehow that we turned down this huge amount of money because we just didn't want to do it, it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Is there any
Who's next on the list?
at this point in time, Madam President?
Councilman Anderson, did you have another question?
Is there any alternate site right now, or none, just because the pandemic and the churches?
Yeah, so I'll add add to that too. So the city has a backup site. It's the Dignity Center where we have our shower facility. The site was not paused. The program was paused. And I want to stress this to everybody that it wasn't a situation where we were looking for a backup site or we had some backup site that we didn't know about. We had a plan. We stuck to the plan. We paused the program to make sure that all of our affairs were in order. God forbid we opened up a secondary site and had the same issues and somebody got hurt, somebody got killed, or somebody got sick. And so what we did was we thought proper route, make sure we got all our ducks in a row and did the due diligence to make sure that the program operates at its best capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Is that it, Councilman Anderson?
Yes, for now.
Council
Thank you. So now
President,
we'll move
may I?
on to.
Oh, I was
Go
going to ask
ahead.
a question. I was going to ask a question of Mr. Jones. What is the timeline to address a situation like it happened last week? Is it 4 days? You know, can it be done in 24 hours? Can it do in 1 hour? And I'm basing my questions with the resources that we have. As you mentioned, there was, you know, the Memorial Stadium site could have been used. So I just want to see what is the timeline of the plan B if something like this will happen again.
I'm sorry, I'm at the Cold Blue site now. So again, it was not an issue of can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, so to answer Councilwoman's, the email, we got no response from anybody other than 211 asking, and the county, we just responded, hey, you know, sorry this happened, let us know when you're back open. So the idea that there was not pieces or organizations in place to step up is not accurate. The thought in terms of our turnaround, we gave ourselves enough room to do what we need to do properly, at the same time not rush it, understanding that we did need to be quick about it, and we said that in the notification that we sent out, that we were going to try to do this as quickly as possible. But repairing cots, you know, finding out more information, we didn't find out about some of the theft until the second day. So in putting procedures in place, by the time we sent out that notification, it was already 4 o'clock. Cold Blue would have been in preparation. I would have sent out a notification calling Cold Blue for that night, so there was no way possible that we were setting up the Cold Blue in an unsafe condition. So we did what we needed to do in a way that made sense to protect not only the guests but the volunteers and the integrity of the program. We gave ample time for any other partner that wanted to step up to do something.
Councilwoman Escobar, this is Michael Drulis. I know, if you don't mind, Keith's on site right now. I know he's doing the best he can to communicate. I think your question was, what are we doing to make sure that if something like this were to happen again, what action would we take?
Absolutely. That's
and
a
Keith,
notification because I didn't find out until late.
right.
Tuesday late. I didn't, as a council person, I found out after 4 o'clock.
So I think that Mr. Jones was, I think he explained the circumstance that happened pretty well. And thinking forward, we evaluate this program on a Code Blue by Code Blue event. And he has already done a great deal of evaluation. We're going to handle him on a case by case. The circumstance this last time, as Mr. Jones explained, was really a one circumstance after many years. But we will take each Code Blue and we will debrief on them. This is the first year in 2 years that the city's received this so much snow in 1 year. Not that we should be prepared for it, but it changes the dynamic of the Code Blue. So we'll continue to evaluate each one. We'll talk about internal communication so that you don't feel that you were not communicated to, and we'll work forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person on the list is Ms. Linda Stork. Ms. Stork?
Hi. So, maybe I missed something. That had been adequately explained why the notification didn't go out until after 4 p.m. But these things had happened sometimes between 10:30 p.m. and, the morning when, I think he said 1 o'clock, the volunteer went upstairs. So, yeah, that's like 15 hours later, after it was known that there was some kind of a problem there. Maybe the extent of the problem wasn't known until the early morning, but still, that's an entire work day. If that was explained, I didn't catch it. Why couldn't the situation have been, assessed and, remediated or alternative salary? This was an emergency, an extreme emergency, and it sounds like the things that, obviously there were things that need to be dealt with, but they were not anything that would repeat at another site with the modifications put in place of having a police officer on duty and more than one volunteer. So I don't do quickly, like that same night. Because what happened to the people that, so people had to call 211, but then, and then what? What happened to those people? Because there's nowhere around here for them to go. Thank goodness for Councilwoman Escobar, who was out there and, got the pregnant lady and another woman into a hotel. But really, yeah, I think that we need to do better. I don't think it's enough to say, oh, it was a unique situation.
Followed by the pound or hash sign. You entered no digits. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. You entered no digits.
We aren't receiving your number entry due to a possible issue with your phone carrier. Please hang up and dial another provider.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your attendee ID number.
When did you receive the complaint or the notification that there was a problem?
Your time is up, Ms. Stork. That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Second.
Why won't you
Councilmember
answer her?
Councilmember Anderson.
Hello? Yes. One more public?
You're muted. You can press
Councilmember
*6
Fleming.
anytime to unmute
Yes.
yourself.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at